Hello and welcome to the RV Family Summit. I am your host, Michelle Abraham, and today I'm joined by really special guests, Paul and Caroline Lasinola, and they are from California, and they have a really cool business. It's called Vintage Camper Trailers, and you can find them at vintagecampertrailers.com. They run a print magazine, and they run 2 rallies a year with over 250 people at their rallies. They are also authors, and they're coming out with a new book in the spring of this year, so we'll talk a bit about that. And so excited to have you guys with us. Thanks for joining us, you guys.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your guys' journey. How did you get started, and why vintage trailers?
We actually stumbled into the hobby, and out of necessity to have a little trailer to go camping, bought an old trailer because it was cheap, and then realized, well, old trailers look cool behind old cars, and we had old cars, and I started writing for a little local hot rod magazine about our find and how cool it was, and suddenly people started calling me that were collecting vintage trailers already. And at that time it was a very unknown hobby over 10 years ago, but over the years with the magazine and the books and the things that are going on, it's grown quite a bit. And so we have rallies with 250 trailers, 500 or 600 people, and they sell out a year in advance.
That's incredible. I love to hear about the rallies. And so just for our audience that maybe doesn't know what a rally is, can you just tell us a little bit about what exactly is a rally?
A rally is a glorified car show in some ways, matched with a camping trip. It's where we just all get together with our vintage trailers and we camp together at a campground. And oftentimes we have an open house so the public can come see the trailers and learn about what vintage camper trailers mean and enjoy the hobby with us, even though they may be interested or they just admire the same things that we have collected. And so a rally is just a group of people that love the same things, getting together and enjoying our time together.
Okay, so do you guys find that there's a lot more people now that are interested in vintage trailers, as the 70s and retros kind of things has come into like more of mainstream things in furniture and that in everyday living? Are there more people now interested in vintage camper trailers as well?
It seems like it. I mean, there's just some people that are just old souls and get it. Some people we tell we're into vintage camper trailers and they kind of cock their head and look at us funny and have no idea what we're talking about. And other people go, oh my gosh, you mean like Airstreams? And so there's a lot of people, when you get into the hobby, you realize there's a lot of other weirdos just like you where, from the outside looking in, you might not get it, but it's grown, and it's grown for a lot of different reasons. It's very popular with women. And so where cars might be a very male predominantly attended hobby and car shows and things, there's as many women or more that are decorating these little houses, if you will, and collecting trailers for that reason. Where we're more traditionalists, we like original trailers, and we try to preserve them to how they were. This shaft has actually been painted on the outside, but it's unrestored on the inside, just to maintain its originality. And so there's just so many facets to the hobby and why people are doing it.
That's really cool. I love to hear you guys' stories about how, people love getting together and coming to these rallies. And I think it's so, we talked about this in the podcast. So for our audience in the summit here, please make sure you go check out their podcast interview. We dive a little bit deeper into the rallies, but I just love, again, how you're bringing back that like in-person connection again, where I think in a world of fast-paced and technology and things, we kind of lose that a little bit. So that's really great. I hope to meet you guys at a rally one day. I think that would be fantastic because I'm a bit of an old soul as well. So I think that would be awesome. So tell us a little bit about like getting into the trailer. And so for someone who's new, thinking about RVing, they're at home, they think this would be cool. Is getting an older vintage style trailer a good idea for someone who's just getting started, or is that something that you need to be a little bit more prepared to do a bit more work with?
Well, you're always, it's like old cars or anything. If you don't love it, it's probably going to aggravate you because they are old. They do need repairs. And unless you just go buy something that's been totally gone through and restored, it's going to require some maintenance and some attention and some patience with leaky plumbing or maybe a light that doesn't always work. And we always encourage people to go to a rally, tour as many trailers as you can, and get an idea for space and size and layout. Do you want a fixed bed? Do you want a not fixed bed? Do you want a bathroom? Does it matter to you, or do you not care if you have a bathroom? All of these different things, and get a feel for the trailers, because there's so many styles. They were making, I don't know how many hundreds of brands in the 50s and 60s, and each one might be a little longer, a little wider, a little taller, and depending on your size, I always say that this is a short man's hobby because the beds aren't real long, but you need to consider all those things if you're going to get into the hobby. That it is about the vintage part. You could go buy, Shasta makes a brand new trailer, you can go buy one, but that's not a vintage trailer. It looks like one, kind of, but it's not a vintage trailer.
So are vintage trailers similar to the way things were built a long time ago seem to be a lot better than the way they're built now? Does that hold true for trailers as well?
It does. In the pre-1960s, which is kind of where we live, our collection, I don't even think we have a 62 right now, but before 1960, they used the natural woods on the interiors, and that's part of the feel of the vintage trailer, is that amber shellacked varnished interior with the natural woods, and then from there they're either wood framed or aluminum framed and aluminum skinned. Trailers are really very basic at their root, and the early building styles were pretty consistent across all the brands. It's just a little bit different shape, maybe a little bit different style, but layout. But the building style was pretty consistent.
It's all a personal ability too. You can have someone that's a great contractor that redoing a trailer is no big deal, or you can have someone that has a leaky faucet and that's too much for them. So it's a very personal answer to that question and what people are comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Do you see a lot of newbie RVers getting into the vintage trailers, or is that something that once you've been RVing for a while, then you get a vintage trailer because it's more of a little bit more work?
We see both. I mean, you can vintage trailer and rally in a $600 trailer or a six-figure trailer, and we were at a big event last weekend with both at it. And the beauty about the vintage trailer hobby is that either is okay. You don't have to have the fanciest hot rod. You can come in your $600 trailer and have just as much fun. And so the vintage trailering hobby for some people is a good entry point into the RVing lifestyle, because they can get in cheap, and if they're clever or somewhat handy, they can clean up a trailer good enough to start camping. But it's also, I know people that have 3 $80,000 trailers in their backyard for a B&B, and that's a very expensive proposition. And so different people have different motivations for getting the hobby, everything from an entry level to just wanting to be at the party, and be at the vintage party, just like a guy might own a really nice hot rod that he doesn't drive every day, he doesn't drive to work, but he wants to be in that hobby and associate with those people. So the explosion of the vintage trailer hobby, I think, is because it involves so many people for so many different reasons.
That's really neat. And I wasn't really thinking about it in the way of hot rods, where, many people have many hot rods in their garage. So is that something people do with vintage camper trailers too? They have several trailers?
Yeah, yes. You had to go there, huh?
So how many do you have?
You'd have to ask our 12-year-old. She keeps count. We don't.
Yeah, we have a lot. And, in my defense, I will say that a lot of our friends have a lot. So
it doesn't make it okay.
We're not the only ones. This 59 Shasta was about our second trailer we ever bought, our first one that we stumbled on. And then we thought, like most people do, they get into the hobby and they go, oh, you know, I love this little trailer, and we still have our other one out back in the shed, but, you know, maybe something a little bigger, maybe something a little flashier, maybe something with a bathroom. And so we actually stumbled on this one in a parts store. A guy said that his sister had a Shasta for sale, and at that time, you know, it was like, oh my God, I got to have a Shasta. They're a very popular brand. It's got cute little wings on the back, and
I had a hammock for the kids to sleep in, so we didn't have to sleep with them. I mean, we were going upscale.
Yeah, this was upscale. And so we bought this actually from the original owner's daughter, and that was 10 years ago, and we still stay in touch with their family. It was a big part of their family history. We've left it, other than we did paint it because they had painted it to match a truck, and so we painted it back to the original color that it was. But we've left the inside, and actually, honestly, a lot of the contents were the contents that were in that trailer 10 years ago when we got it, and the little kitschy decor things. And so, you know, we really tried to honor their family's history. And you can probably see behind us, some of these are stickers from our rallies. But some of these, and the other window has stickers from when they toured in it in the 50s and the 60s with their family. And so that personal connection and that whole thing is really part of the hobby to us. So
anytime we go out in this trailer, I Facebook the gal that we bought it from, Joy, and she's always just so appreciative and so excited that our kids are growing up camping and being outside, and that the love of camping continues and it's passed on to the next generation. And you asked about people getting into this hobby. I do see young families really wanting to get out and having their kids go beyond technology and to enjoy the more simple things that they may have grown up with, or they desire the kids to have those experiences. So yeah, we do see a lot of young people getting in the hobby with that as well.
I think you're right, Caroline. In like the day and age now that we're in, where everything's so busy, and like our kids aren't getting the same sort of like upbringing that we had, where they're riding their bikes for hours and hours, and we don't know where they are. Where, you know, all of our kids are on such a short leash now. That was one of the things that inspired my family to, you know, move off the grid and also move into an RV this fall, and, you know, experience that more family time together, and that more the way that I grew up. I really appreciated all the camping trips and all the time we spent outdoors. And so I want that for my kids too, where in the age and the technology we're in, it's a little bit more challenging to piece that together. So tell us a little bit about your guys' family adventures as a family in the trailer. So did your kids start RVing right from the beginning? And tell us about their favorite things to do in an RV.
So we started, the kids were little, and honestly, we started as trying to fill some time. You know, it's like, what do we do with these kids? And so one of our first camping trips, I remember we just called a place locally that was only, I don't know, maybe a half hour from home. And they had some campsites. And so we hooked up our new little trailer and loaded up the kids and some peanut butter and jelly and whatnot, and headed off to this campsite. And we got there, and it was maybe one step up from a Walmart parking lot. It was the worst place I've ever seen. We realized we need to do a little more research. We could barely squeeze our trailer in between the picnic table and the trailer that was next to us. And we live on 10 acres, and we're the smallest property on our street. So we live in the country, and I did not need to go camping in a parking lot. So our first experience, that was probably our first time, was like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is going to work for me. But we got into it, and we found some better spots. And then we got into the big rally at Pismo, and at that time that was the rally to go to, and lots of trailers, and it's hard to get in, and we headed off to that rally, and on the way we were driving through a small town, and a young man fell off of the sidewalk. They were pushing and shoving, and he fell into the front of our trailer, and the trailer hit him, and it knocked him unconscious, and it completely destroyed the front corner of this little trailer that we had just restored. And so we had all that drama, and then within an hour we had a tire come off the other side of the trailer and tear the whole back side of the trailer off. And so that was another one of our first camping experiences that we just thought, oh my gosh,
what are we doing?
I don't know if this is all that fun. So good advice is make sure your lug nuts are tight, and information only, your vehicle insurance extends to your trailer when you're driving. And so you've got coverage when you hit people with your trailer.
Or when they in front of me. We didn't drive off the road. We were just going down the road. So it was rather dramatic. The young man was just fine. He was fine. And after hours on the side of the road with 2 babies, well, Paul went back and forth to the nearest tire store, getting everything fixed. We found the nearest hotel, regrouped, and then we made it to our rally the next morning with a little duct tape. And had quite the story to tell, so we survived. So,
good for you guys for not giving up then. You could have easily just given up, gone back home, and be done with camping, but that's a good thing you didn't.
It was definitely an option at some point.
The kids have really gained the family out of this. You know, Caroline mentioned that my mom had passed away and her folks live in Alaska. And so we don't have a lot of family here where we live. And over the years, we have best friends that are in their 20s and we have best friends that are in their 70s that we do stuff with all the time, all together. I mean, it's been such an experience for the kids to be able to interact with. I mean, we have really good friends that are in a rockabilly band and in their 20s with babies, and we have really good friends that fought in World War II and are retired and socialized with us. And it's for the kids having that exposure.
It's amazing
to that many different people and that many different experiences. And we'll go to rallies and somebody will help them learn how to repair a bike, or somebody will let them decorate cakes with them, or you know, just whatever it is, whatever, everybody's got their thing that they're good at. And our kids have been exposed to that for a decade of doing this hobby. And our daughter in particular has certain friends, other kids that she knows, this one will be at this rally, this one will be at that rally. And so she's off and running doing her thing most of the time. We don't even see her. So that's nice too.
And at the campground, you know, we used to have the little towns where I grew up in a really small town. And I remember one time my sister tried to go to a movie, and our neighbor called and said, do you know that your daughter's at this movie and it's R-rated? And I don't know if it was, or PG-13, but I always remember that story. Like, you could not get away with anything. And I kind of feel that way in the campground, because there are 500 people that know who the kids are and who they belong to, and they have the freedom to be kids, but they also are going to be held accountable. And what a great community to have that experience, because that is not every day in our world anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's nice to allow the kids to have that freedom. But, you know, as parents, it's really nice to know that you have a community that looks out for them, because I think a lot of us live in communities now where we don't even know our neighbors. And yeah, it's sad that it's gotten to that point. And so it's so nice to find a community that you can have that same sort of, you know, community feel with. So when you guys are out in the rallies and there's tons of activities and people and things, exciting things going on, what are some of the things that you guys look forward to the most when you're RVing?
Friends. You know, it's just a great time to catch up and to check in with each other and to be part of each other's lives, and know that you have people that are there to support you 100%, that love you and that you love them and you want to be involved. And I think that that's the best part for me, are the friends.
A lot of times, because it's also our business, we're working, if you will, and a lot of times we're the host, or at least we're assisting hosting at rallies. And so a lot of times during the day, we're a little on the spot, and we love that. I mean, we are in a business and we are out there selling ourselves. But for me, if you go to a vintage trailer rally at night, that's to me the part that I look forward to, because it's quiet. There's lots of little lights. There's lots of interiors glowing because people are getting ready for bed or whatever. And if you just walk through the quiet of a vintage trailer rally at night. There's always somebody that's gotten together and they're playing a banjo and a washboard and a harmonica somewhere, or campfires. That to me, far and away, is the best part of a vintage camper trailer rally, when it's quiet.
That's great. I love that. I was right there with you, walking through just as you were saying that. That's so great. Sounds awesome. So tell us, you guys, a little bit more about our families who are at home right now. If they're sitting there thinking, this seems like a really good idea, I want to get into this kind of lifestyle, what are some things that you can tell them to do to get started?
Well, we're fortunate in that it doesn't take much effort to recruit people to want to get on board with us. It's probably funner than it looks, or funner than we can explain it here. I would encourage people to get a dang trailer and get to a rally and start camping. We see people that they come to the same rally for 4 years telling us they're still looking for a trailer. And, it's great to find the exact trailer that you want, but these things are far and few between, and they sometimes take a while to find the exact Shasta or the exact Streamline or Airstream or whatever it is that you're looking for. If you get a trailer, and just like you've mentioned several times, get out from behind that dang computer, sitting there looking on Craigslist, and go meet people like me or like my friends. We all know where there's trailers for sale, but I'm not spending 1 second advertising on Craigslist, because I know people that want to buy them at rallies or whatnot. So just get a trailer, get what you can afford.
Just
start camping. It doesn't have to be your forever trailer. That trailer will come, but don't spend all your time kicking tires. They're all old. They all need work. They'll get you down the road. You don't have to tear them apart and completely rebuild them to be in the hobby. And so we just encourage people to get started. Buy as best as you can afford. But if you've really got the passion to do it, do it.
And the other trick that we always share is tell people, if you want to be in the hobby, start telling grandma, and grandma might tell her friend, and the friend might say, I've got one in my garage. That's a network. Talk to people, tell them, hey, I'm looking for a vintage trailer. Tell everybody you know, and you will be surprised. You never know who's going to say, hey, I know where to find that.
Yeah. It's true. And it just goes back to the way that we used to do things, is networking and talking to each other. Amazing. Amazing how that's the answer. That's right. So when you guys were full-timing with your families, is there any advice you can share with our families that are looking at doing that now?
We homeschooled, but I did most of the teaching with the kids. And I would just say, especially when they're little, just do it. Go enjoy. There's so much learning and experience and going to see things. My kids have got to see and do things that people in traditional educational situations haven't and never will have the opportunity to learn and to do. Just go for it. I think that's our mission, is don't live life with regrets. Take the kids. We did math on the beach. We did collecting numbers. I just remember when I have a picture of one of our very first camping trips in our little trailer, before we started writing, before we did the magazine, before anything, and the kids were still little. We made an ABC book from the trip. They were still in preschool and kindergarten, and we made an ABC. Everything, we found letters and trees, and the kids took pictures. There's things to learn at any age, any stage, by just being out there and doing it. And get the kids involved. One thing I struggled with as a mom was the food aspect of it. And I have a funny story that I finally said, okay, when we go camping and I'm hosting and I don't have a way to make sure you guys eat, I need you guys to help me. So I said, you guys need to buy something good. You can buy a fun snack and you can buy a few treats, but we need to go to the grocery store. And I gave the kids each a dollar amount that they could spend. And I went to the grocery store and they bought some fruit and some cereal, etc., whatever kids like. And I gave them each $20. And I still have the receipt from my son. He spent exactly $20 to the penny. So it's just fun, make it fun.
That's a great idea. I'm going to remember that story. Let them pick out their own food in the grocery store.
That's the guidelines. You need some protein, something healthy, but then a few fun things too.
And I think that just goes back to like empowering them to make their own decisions and, like let them, feel like they're part of the journey and a part of the conversation. And that's really great. So when you guys are speaking with new people that are getting into the RVing, what is it about like the restoration part of the vintage trailers? Paul, can you or Caroline, both of you guys, give us a couple of tips on like when you're going to restore things, like what should we be looking for in a vintage trailer and what should you be doing to like look at restoring it?
If you're new to the hobby, the one thing that you should know is that there's two basic kinds of construction, and that's a wood frame trailer or an aluminum frame trailer. So any wood frame trailer like the Shasta, over the years, this one's a 59, so it's 50 something years old. Over the years, they are not waterproof. And so if you've got a wood frame and water has at all seeped or weeped, and it does, there's nothing you can do about it. They're not waterproof. That is going to cause dry rot and damage either visibly in your paneling inside, which this one actually has. I mean, we've left it there. It's part of the patina. It's not dilapidated to the point that it's, falling apart, but you can definitely see where these windows in particular are very poor. They leak quite a bit. But if you get enough rot down into the frame and everything, and then your frame is compromised and your metal starts coming loose and it doesn't attach well, then you've got to start deconstructing things and replacing and repairing the framing. So if you want to step it up a little bit, you can buy an aluminum frame trailer, which is more like a Spartan. And there's Spartans, there's Airstream, Streamline, Silver Streaks, Westwoods, or Westcrafts. And you can tell the difference. This one's assembled with either screws or what's called a twist nail. And a aluminum frame trailer is held together with rivets to where the skins are riveted on. With an aluminum frame, you don't get any frame, so there's far less repairs to do. So if you're gonna buy a trailer, check the skins, make sure they're not loose on a wood frame trailer. Feel the floor, that's what's going to get damaged. Buy the best trailer that you can afford. So don't, the trailer you get for free, a lot of times it's usually free for a reason. And if it's going to require extensive amounts of work and you've got to have that work done by a professional, it's going to be very expensive. If you're handy and want a project, they're fun. There's not much to them. You can blow them apart. The skins you can purchase from our supplier in Hemet at Hemet Valley RV. They can send you the new skins. The wood can be purchased at Home Depot. It's just a little bit of skill and a lot of time. You can rebuild a trailer. But if you can buy the best you can afford or step up into an aluminum frame trailer, you're going to have a lot less repairs to do long term.
Cool. That's a labor of love, right?
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much, you guys, for being on with us. I really appreciate you taking us back into the community and the era of like connection. And I look forward to hearing more about the rallies. And for those of you that have not heard the podcast episode yet, make sure you check out their podcast episode on the RV There Yet podcast, because they talk a little bit more about the rallies and all the cool and crazy things they do at the rallies. And so thank you guys for being with us. Make sure you check out vintagecampertrailers.com. That's their website. You got all sorts of really cool pictures on there of all sorts of really neat trailers. The magazine comes in print, which is amazing, and you can actually hold it in your hands. Unbelievable. And actually, Caroline have given us a copy of a magazine online version of the magazine so that we can take a look at it online first as a thank you for coming to the summit. So thank you guys for being with us, and I appreciate everything that you guys do, and I really thank you for being an inspiration to families, and I look forward to seeing you out on the road.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much for including us.
You're welcome. Take care.